Could a singing style really threaten American values? Would a simple hip movement really corrupt the youth of a nation? When Elvis Presley burst onto the music scene in the 1950s, many parents, religious leaders, and authority figures certainly thought so. The Mississippi-born singer with the swiveling hips and sultry voice became a lightning rod for moral panic in post-war America, with his music frequently labeled as dangerous, corrupting, and even sinful. Behind the now nostalgic image of poodle skirts and sock hops lurked genuine fear that this new rock and roll sound, particularly as performed by the Maddox Presley, threatened the moral fabric of American society. Number 1. Can't Help Falling in Love. 1961. Wait, really? The sweet, romantic ballad that's been played at countless weddings sparked outrage. Yes, indeed. While modern listeners might find it difficult to imagine anyone taking offense at this gentle love song, Can't Help Falling in Love caused quite a stir among certain religious communities when it was released. The controversy didn't stem from its sound or Elvis's performance style, but rather its origin. The melody for Can't Help Falling in Love was adapted from Plaisir d'amour, an 18th century French love song. However, what troubled some religious listeners was that Elvis and his team had also borrowed from another source, a 200-year-old hymn called O Sanctissima, also known as O Most Holy. This sacred Catholic hymn, dedicated to the Virgin Mary, had been repurposed for a secular love song, and not just any love song, but one performed by the controversial rock and roll star, whose gyrating hips had already been deemed satanic by some religious leaders. Religious publications of the day criticized the adaptation as sacrilegious. To take a holy melody meant to honor the Blessed Virgin and transform it into a worldly love song by the heathen king of rock and roll is nothing short of blasphemy, wrote one particularly outraged church newsletter in 1962. The irony, of course, was that Elvis himself was deeply religious, raised in the Assembly of God Church, and a lifelong gospel music enthusiast. Throughout his career, he recorded numerous gospel albums and frequently spoke about his faith. In fact, when he won his first Grammy Award, it wasn't for rock and roll. It was for his gospel recording of How Great Thou Art. Despite the initial controversy, Can't Help Falling in Love eventually transcended its contentious reception to become one of Elvis's most beloved songs. The beautiful ballad closed many of his concerts in the 1970s and continues to be a staple at weddings and romantic occasions. Time has rendered the moral outrage it once generated nearly forgotten, a curious footnote in the song's enduring legacy. The controversy surrounding this seemingly innocent love song highlights the heightened cultural tensions of the time, when even a melodic borrowing could be interpreted as an assault on sacred traditions. Number 2. In the Ghetto. 1969. Can a song about social issues really be controversial? In 1969, when Elvis released In the Ghetto, tackling poverty and urban violence proved surprisingly divisive. Written by Mac Davis, In the Ghetto tells the story of a boy born in the Chicago ghetto, trapped in a cycle of poverty and violence that ultimately leads to his death, after which another child is born, suggesting the cycle will continue. The song was a significant departure for Elvis, representing his first explicitly socially conscious recording. Coming in the wake of Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination and amid the continuing civil rights movement, In the Ghetto struck a nerve with audiences across America. While many praised Elvis for using his platform to highlight urban poverty and systemic inequalities, Others were furious about what they perceived as political messaging. Conservative commentators accused Elvis of promoting socialist propaganda and race baiting. One Southern radio station manager was quoted in Billboard magazine saying, "We don't need our entertainers telling us about social problems. Elvis should stick to love songs and leave politics to the politicians." Some of Elvis's own fan base, particularly in the South, expressed disappointment that their idol had ventured into what they considered political territory. Fan letters published in music magazines of the era reveal this discomfort. "I've always loved Elvis, but why does he have to start singing about ghettos and poor people? That's not what we want from him," wrote one fan from Alabama. Conversely, some civil rights activists questioned whether Elvis, as a white man who had built his career on a sound heavily influenced by black rhythm and blues, had the right to address such issues at all. The criticism, from multiple directions, highlighted the complex racial dynamics at play in American popular culture. Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis's notoriously controlling manager, was reportedly unhappy with the song choice precisely because of its potential to alienate fans with its social commentary. According to several Elvis biographers, Parker advised against recording more songs in this vein, fearing controversy would hurt ticket sales and record purchases. Despite the backlash, "In the Ghetto" became one of Elvis's biggest hits of the late 1960s, reaching number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 and demonstrating that Presley could successfully expand his artistic range beyond romantic ballads and rock numbers. The song has since been covered by numerous artists, including Dolly Parton, Nick Cave, and the Cranberries, cementing its place as a powerful commentary on urban poverty that transcends its original controversial reception. The divisive reaction to "In the Ghetto" illustrates how even attempting to address social injustice through music could provoke accusations of overstepping boundaries in an America still deeply divided on issues of race and inequality. Number 3. Jailhouse Rock, 1957. Did America really think a song about dancing in prison would lead to juvenile delinquency? When Jailhouse Rock hit airwaves in 1957, many adults genuinely feared it might. Jailhouse Rock was released as both a single and as the title track for Elvis's third movie. The driving rhythm, Elvis's aggressive vocal performance, and lyrics describing inmates partying in prison created an immediate sensation and sparked immediate concern among self-appointed moral guardians. Parent-teacher associations across the country voiced alarm about the song's seeming glorification of criminal behavior. A PTA chapter in San Diego issued a statement claiming the song makes light of the penal system and presents criminals as fun-loving, misunderstood rebels. Some school administrators went so far as to ban the playing of the song at school dances, fearing it would encourage disrespect for authority and law enforcement. Religious leaders joined the chorus of disapproval. Reverend Milton Leidig of the First Methodist Church in Asbury Park, New Jersey, devoted an entire Sunday sermon to denouncing Jailhouse Rock, describing it as a tune that celebrates the very worst elements of our society and presents them as heroes to impressionable young people. The criticism extended beyond the song's lyrical content. The choreography from the Jailhouse Rock film sequence became one of the most controversial aspects of Elvis's career. Presley's hip movements and stance, already the subject of moral panic, reached new levels of suggestiveness in this performance. When Elvis performed the song on television shows, cameras were famously instructed to film him only from the waist up, a censorship practice that had begun earlier but became firmly established with provocative performances. What particularly disturbed some listeners were the homoerotic undertones they perceived in certain lyrics, Particularly the line number 47 said to number 3, "You're the cutest jailbird I ever did see." In the deeply homophobe culture of 1950s America, the suggestion of same-sex attraction in a song aimed at teenagers prompted outraged letters to radio stations demanding the song be banned. Defenders of the song, including many music critics, argued that critics were missing the obvious satirical elements of the lyrics written by legendary songwriting team Jerry Leiber and Mike Stoller. They pointed out that the song was clearly not a serious endorsement of criminal behavior, but rather a playful fantasy using the prison setting as a metaphor. Despite, or perhaps because of the controversy, Jailhouse Rock became one of Elvis's signature hits, reaching number 1 on the Billboard charts and solidifying his status as rock and roll's premier provocateur. The film sequence featuring Elvis performing the song is now considered one of the most iconic music performances in cinema history, frequently cited as a forerunner to the modern music video. The moral panic surrounding Jailhouse Rock demonstrated how even the setting and subject matter of a rock and roll song could trigger fears about youth, rebellion, and the erosion of traditional values in post-war America. Number 4. Baby, Let's Play House. 1955. How could a playful rockabilly tune become a battleground in America's culture wars? When Elvis recorded Baby, Let's Play House in 1955, few could have predicted the firestorm of controversy it would ignite. Baby, Let's Play House was originally written and recorded by Arthur Gunter, but Elvis's version changed in significant ways, became one of his first regional hits for Sun Records. The song featured Elvis's energetic vocals, Scotty Moore's intricate guitar work, and a driving rhythm that epitomized the new rockabilly sound emerging from Sam Phillips' legendary Memphis studio. What made the song particularly controversial was Elvis's alteration to the lyrics. In the original version, Gunter sang, "You may go to college, you may go to school, you may have a pink Cadillac, but don't you be nobody's fool." Elvis changed this to, "You may go to college, you may go to school, you may have a pink Cadillac, but don't you be nobody's fool, but baby, don't fall in love with me." This change was interpreted by many religious and community leaders as encouraging casual relationships and promiscuity. A Baptist minister in Little Rock was quoted in the local newspaper, saying, "This young man is advising girls to engage in play-acting domesticity without the sanctity of marriage, then warning them not to develop genuine feelings. This is nothing short of encouraging sinful behavior among our youth." Parents groups were particularly concerned about the suggestive nature of Playing House, traditionally an innocent children's game, but in the context of Elvis's sultry delivery, loaded with adult implications. A Parents' League bulletin from Memphis warned, "The so-called rock and roll music exemplified by local performer Elvis Presley takes childish concepts and infuses them with vulgar adult meanings inappropriate for young listeners." Radio stations in more conservative markets faced pressure to ban the song. WI in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, received so many complaint calls that the station manager temporarily pulled the song from rotation, though public demand eventually forced him to reinstate it. Even Elvis's performance style, while singing "Baby, Let's Play House," generated outrage. During early television appearances, his physical movements while performing this particular song were described in one newspaper editorial as a display of primitive physical passion that belongs in jungle documentaries, not American living rooms. Music historians have noted the racial undercurrents in much of this criticism. Elvis, a white performer, increasingly popular with white teenagers, was performing in a style influenced by black rhythm and blues artists. The fear of race mixing through music was explicitly mentioned in some of the more offensive critiques published in Southern newspapers, revealing how moral outrage often masked racial anxieties. Despite the controversy, or more likely because of it, baby, Let's Playhouse helped establish Elvis as a rising star and became one of his most important early recordings. It represented his emerging signature sound and showcased the rebellious energy that would soon make him a national phenomenon. The reaction to Baby, Let's Playhouse revealed deep anxieties about changing sexual mores and youth independence in 1950s. America, with Elvis becoming a convenient target for those resistant to cultural change. Number 5. Hound Dog, 1956. What could make the nation's top TV host demand an apology from America's biggest star? When Elvis performed Hound Dog on the Milton Berle Show in June 1956, the resulting uproar forever changed how America viewed both Elvis and rock and roll itself. Hound Dog was originally recorded by Big Mama Thornton, an African-American blues singer, in 1952. Her version, with its powerful vocals and explicit female perspective, was a hit on the R&B charts, but largely unknown to mainstream white audiences. When Elvis covered the song 4 years later, he changed both the arrangement and some lyrics, transforming it from a woman's assertive dismissal of a freeloading man into something altogether different. While the recording itself generated considerable excitement, it was Elvis's television performance of Hound Dog that truly scandalized America. On June 5, 1956, Elvis appeared on the Milton Berle Show and performed the song without his guitar, allowing him freedom of movement. During the performance, he slowed the tempo down dramatically mid-song and began a series of exaggerated body movements, including the hip gyrations that would become his trademark, but were considered shocking and vulgar at the time. The national reaction was immediate and fierce. Newspaper columnists led the charge, with particularly venomous criticism coming from Jack O'Brien of the New York Journal American, who described Elvis as an unspeakably untalented and vulgar young entertainer. Ben Gross of the New York Daily News similarly condemned the performance as revoltingly suggestive. The Catholic Church magazine, America, went further, calling Elvis a symbol of the new teenage rebellion and a whirling dervish of sex. The controversy extended beyond cultural commentators. Religious leaders across America denounced both Elvis and Hound Dog from their pulpits. One Florida minister told his congregation that the popular music field has reached a new low in Presley, while a St. Louis rabbi lamented in his weekly bulletin that Elvis Presley's Hound Dog distorts the souls and minds of our impressionable youth. Parents' organizations mobilized against what they perceived as a dangerous influence on their children. The National Parents-Teacher Association discussed Elvis at their 1956 convention, with several chapters passing resolutions condemning his music and performances as a threat to the moral well-being of our nation's youth. Some local PATAs organized record burnings where teenagers were encouraged to destroy their Elvis records in public demonstrations of moral rectitude. Television executives were equally disturbed. After the Berle appearance, when Elvis was booked on the Steve Allen Show a month later, Allen insisted that Elvis wear a formal tuxedo and sing Hound Dog to an actual basset hound, a deliberate attempt to ridicule and neutralize Elvis's sexuality. Ed Sullivan, who had previously declared he would never have Presley on his show, eventually relented due to ratings pressure, but famously instructed his cameraman to shoot Elvis only from the waist up during his third appearance when performing Hound Dog and other songs. The gendered and racial aspects of the criticism were unmistakable. Elvis, a white man from Mississippi, was performing in a style associated with African-American musicians and bringing historically black musical expressions into mainstream white America. Many critics specifically objected to what they called his Negro dance movements. Meanwhile, the fact that Hound Dog had originally been performed by a black woman added another layer of transgression in the eyes of segregation-era critics, despite, or because of the controversy. Hound Dog became one of Elvis's biggest hits, spending a record-breaking 11 weeks at #1 on the charts and selling over 10 million copies worldwide. The performance and the reaction to it marked a crucial moment in American cultural history, highlighting the generational divide that would only widen through the remainder of the 1950s and into the 1960s. The moral panic surrounding Hound Dog revealed America's deep discomfort with changing social norms, racial integration, and emerging youth culture, all embodied in the swiveling hips of a young man from Tupelo. Does history repeat itself? Just as Elvis faced criticism for supposedly corrupting youth with his provocatives, perceived similar moral panics surrounding Madonna's explicit sexuality, the perceived violent messaging of hip-hop, and the supposed satanic influence of heavy metal. The particulars change, but the pattern remains remarkably consistent. New forms of musical expression that challenge established norms invariably trigger outrage from those invested in maintaining the status quo. But could this recurring cycle of moral panic actually be essential to cultural evolution itself?